Have you ever wondered if your body might be offering gentle signs that the final chapter is approaching, signs so subtle that most families don't notice until time is running out? It's not always pain or a dramatic illness. Often, it's something as ordinary as napping more frequently during the day or no longer craving that favorite Sunday meal. Because these shifts seem so common, we tend to overlook them until a doctor tells us there may not be much time left. In this article, I'll walk you through 7 quiet but meaningful indicators that hospice professionals from Johns Hopkins and the Mayo Clinic say can emerge months before the end of life. They're not hard to spot, and recognizing them early can help bring clarity, peace, and comfort to the people you love most. These signs could be the softest way your loved one is trying to tell you something, so please, don't dismiss them. Before we dive in, I'd love to know where you're tuning in from, and what time is it for you right now? Or simply leave the word hope in the comments if you believe in showing love through gentle care rather than fear. And if you find this meaningful, consider subscribing to receive more compassionate, easy-to-understand health insights. Now stay with me, because what you learn over the next minute could change the way you care forever. Let's begin with one of the most commonly missed signs, a noticeable change in sleep habits. When an older adult suddenly begins sleeping much more than usual, or starts staying awake into the early hours of the morning, it may not just be normal aging. I remember speaking with Edward, an 81-year-old from Tennessee. He used to look forward to watching his afternoon baseball reruns. But over time, his daughter noticed he'd be asleep before the game even got going. Within weeks, he was sleeping almost 18 hours a day, then pacing the hallways at 3 a.m., lost in his thoughts. At first, the family chalked it up to boredom or restlessness. But doctors later shared that Edward's body was entering a new phase zone that's often seen in the last few months of life. As people age, the body naturally slows down to conserve energy. But as it begins to shut down essential systems like digestion, circulation, and even brain function, the sleep cycle is often the first thing to change. Experts at Harvard Medical School explain that the brain's circadian rhythm can start misfiring. Daytime feels like night, and nights lose their structure entirely. This isn't an illness, it's a quiet biological signal. The problem is, when we don't recognize this shift, we may miss a crucial opportunity to adjust the way we provide care, to offer more comfort, or simply to be more present. Sometimes we even feel annoyed when, in truth, our loved one may already be slowly transitioning. So what can you do? Begin by observing. You don't need fancy tech, just a notepad. Keep track of how long they're sleeping at night and how often they nap during the day. If it adds up to more than 15 or 16 hours a day for a week or longer, it's worth bringing up with their doctor. Noticing these patterns early can help you make decisions that feel less reactive and more grounded in compassion. And above all, remember, recognizing this change isn't giving up. It's choosing to care with intention. Because sometimes, real love looks like sitting quietly beside someone while they sleep just a little longer than before. Stay with me, because what comes next is often misunderstood, a change that many brush off as ordinary forgetfulness, but it might point to something much deeper. This second sign is quietly heartbreaking, and yet so easy to overlook. When someone you care about begins losing interest in their favorite foods or starts leaving their plate untouched after just a few bites, it's easy to assume they're just tired or their tastes are shifting. But sometimes, it's a gentle sign from the body that something more profound is happening. I still think of Dorothy, a kind-hearted 82-year-old from Michigan who had spent over 6 decades baking homemade apple pie every Sunday. It was her signature dish, warm, cinnamon-scented, and made with love. Then one afternoon, she barely touched her slice. The following week, she didn't even ask for dessert. Within 2 months, she had lost more than 15 pounds. Her daughter feared it might be a side effect of medication or a bout of depression. But when they spoke with her doctor, the truth was more difficult. Dorothy's body was quietly preparing for its final phase, gradually letting go. You see, as people near the end of life, especially in the final few months, their bodies begin to conserve energy in a very specific way. The palliative care team at the Mayo Clinic explains that the digestive system naturally slows down. It's not a matter of mood or stubbornness, it's a biological shift. The body stops investing energy in digesting food and instead channels it into maintaining essential functions for as long as possible. That's why familiar meals suddenly lose their flavor. Beloved aromas may become overwhelming. It's not about being fussy. It's a subtle signal, one we need to honor rather than ignore. So what can you do? Start by letting go of the pressure to eat full meals. Forcing food can create discomfort. Instead, offer small, gentle options. A spoonful of mashed potatoes, a little fruit cup, or a warm sip of broth. Track how much they're eating, but do so without pressure. And if a reduced appetite persists for more than a week, especially with visible weight loss, reach out to their doctor for guidance. More than anything, just be present. Sit with them. Let the mealtime be a moment of warmth, not measurement. Sometimes love doesn't come in the form of a finished plate, but in a quiet presence, a shared memory, or the act of holding someone's hand while they simply rest. Next, we'll explore something else that many families misread. It's often mistaken for loneliness, but in truth, it may be the body turning inward in preparation. This third sign is easy to overlook, especially when it simply looks like someone needing space. But when a person who once looked forward to phone calls, Sunday dinners, or porch chats suddenly grows quiet, it might not be just a change in mood. Franklin, an 84-year-old from Ohio, had never missed a Friday poker night with his lifelong friends. Rain or shine, he'd always show up wearing his lucky cap and carrying a pocket full of peppermint candies. But one Friday, he skipped the game. Then the next week, he didn't return his grandson's phone call. At first, his daughter assumed Franklin was simply feeling a little off, maybe tired, maybe needing space. But as the weeks passed, it became clear something deeper was happening. Franklin began retreating. He stopped attending family dinners. He no longer visited his longtime neighbor across the street. Eventually, doctors sat down with the family and gently explained what was unfolding. Franklin was entering a natural stage that many people quietly go through toward the end of life. As specialists in palliative care at Johns Hopkins have noted, emotional withdrawal doesn't always point to depression. In some cases, it's the body and spirit slowly turning inward, a gentle form of preparation, of gradually letting go. When we don't recognize this for what it is, we might feel hurt. Worse, we might try to pull our loved one back into social routines, when what they truly need is calm, undemanding companionship. This is where presence, not pressure, matters most. So, how can we respond? Keep things simple and open. Offer small moments instead of expectations. Say a warm hello. Hold their hand. Sit nearby. And listen to music together. Let your presence be enough. And above all, don't take the distance personally. It's not rejection, it's reflection. If someone close to you seems to be withdrawing, take a step back and ask yourself, are they seeking solitude or are they seeking peace? Sometimes, love isn't about doing more. It's about doing less, but doing it with deeper intention and tenderness. Stay with me, because in the next part we'll look at a change that can feel unsettling, one that many families confuse with dementia, but which may carry an entirely different meaning. The fourth sign may seem unusual, even a little eerie at first, but it's far more common than you might think. If someone you love begins quietly speaking to people who passed away long ago, or seems to drift in and out of clarity, don't panic. It's not always a sign of cognitive decline. Take Vernon, an 86-year-old gentleman from Florida. In many ways, he remained mentally sharp. He remembered all his grandkids' birthdays, could hum old songs on cue, and even debated politics with the mailman. But one evening, his daughter overheard him speaking softly in the living room. At first, she assumed he was on the phone until she heard him whisper, "Martha, I know you're here." Martha had been his wife. She passed 6 years prior. His daughter was heartbroken. She feared the worst, perhaps Alzheimer's or severe memory loss. But after talking with hospice professionals, she discovered that something else might be happening. Neurologists at the Cleveland Clinic explained that during the final stages of life, changes in how the brain processes oxygen, time, and memory can lead to what may seem like confusion. People may revisit old memories as if they were happening now. They may speak to loved ones who've passed, not out of delusion but out of deep internal reflection. And here's the remarkable part. These moments, strange as they may seem, can offer peace. Sometimes they are quiet goodbyes. Sometimes they are a gentle bridge between this world and the next. What families often do, and what can cause more harm than good, is try to correct or interrupt these moments. Saying things like, "That's not real," or "You're confused," can cause fear or distress. Instead, try something different. Just be there. If they're smiling, let them smile. If they're remembering something sweet, ask to hear more. Instead of correcting or pulling them back to reality, try something different. Just sit with them. Be present. If they're smiling, let them smile. If they're lost in a sweet memory, gently ask them to tell you more. Jot it down if you can. These may be precious stories they've never shared before, small treasures wrapped in delicate moments. Don't treat these experiences as confusion or decline. Sometimes they are sacred glimpses into a heart preparing to let go. In just a moment, we'll explore another sign, one that doesn't show up in conversation, but in the quiet weakening of the body. And it's often missed until it becomes undeniable. The fifth sign is one that families frequently overlook until it becomes impossible to ignore. When someone who has always managed simple daily tasks suddenly finds it exhausting just to stand up, or starts needing help with things they've done for decades, like buttoning a shirt or pouring a cup of coffee, it's not just aging. It might be something more significant. Carmen, an 83-year-old from Texas, had a peaceful routine. She walked to the mailbox each morning and watered her garden with pride. Then, one spring day, her daughter noticed she was struggling just to rise from her favorite chair. A few days later, she needed help getting to the bathroom. There hadn't been a fall. She wasn't ill. But something fundamental had shifted. A visit to the doctor confirmed it. Carmen's body was beginning to shut down, gently and gradually. And the first visible sign was in her loss of strength. Experts from the American Geriatric Society explain that in the final phase of life, the body often redirects energy from the muscles to support vital organs. That means even with enough food and rest, muscles may grow weaker. It's not about being lazy. It's not a lack of motivation. It's the body making quiet, necessary changes to preserve what matters most. Here's the challenge: if we miss these changes, we might unknowingly ask too much. We may encourage our loved one to push through when they're already doing their best. That pressure can lead to falls, physical injuries, or emotional frustration for everyone involved. And sadly, it can also make someone feel like they're letting us down when they're simply doing all they can. So how can we help? Start by focusing on safety. Remove slippery rugs. Install grab bars in the bathroom. Place chairs where rest is easy and frequent. Most importantly, shift expectations. Let them do what they're still able to, but offer support without shame for what they no longer can. If someone close to you begins to lose strength unexpectedly, don't treat it as resistance. See it as their body asking quietly but clearly for a little more gentleness. And in just a moment, we'll talk about another sign, one that doesn't involve movement at all. This one comes through something even more subtle: their breath. Stay with me, because this next part matters deeply. The sixth sign is soft but powerful. It's in the way someone begins to breathe. When their breathing changes, becoming shallow, rapid, or filled with pauses, it's not always a matter of age catching up. It could be the body slowly winding down on a much deeper level. I still remember Edward, a 79-year-old retired firefighter from Georgia, sturdy and steady, even in his later years. His wife, Elaine, told me that during his afternoon naps, she began noticing something different in his breathing. At times, he would breathe quickly for a few minutes, then suddenly go completely still. She would hold her breath right along with him, heart pounding, and just as she was about to gently touch his shoulder, he'd exhale softly, as though nothing had happened. It scared her deeply, but she didn't want to overreact or make assumptions. Later, doctors reassured her it wasn't a crisis. According to the National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization, changes in breathing patterns are quite common in the final stages of life. As the heart and lungs begin to slow down, the body adapts, conserving what little energy remains, shifting into new rhythms. This can lead to a pattern known as Cheyne-Stokes breathing, where breaths come in short flurries followed by long pauses. And here's what's important. When we don't understand these shifts, we often respond out of fear, rushing to the emergency room or seeking interventions that may only add stress, not comfort. But when we recognize them as part of the natural process, we can shift our focus to what matters most, bringing calm, reducing discomfort, and simply being there. So what can you do if you notice this kind of breathing? Start by creating a peaceful environment. Keep the space quiet and soft. Use pillows to gently elevate their head for easier airflow. Sometimes a small fan or cracked window can offer a sense of ease. And most importantly, speak with their doctor or hospice nurse, not to fix, but to receive gentle guidance on how to support them with care and dignity. Elaine told me that once she understood what was happening, she no longer sat in fear. She sat with love. She held Edward's hand, listened to the rhythm of his breathing, and felt peace knowing she was offering exactly what he needed in that moment. Now stay with me, because in the next part, we'll turn our attention to something that doesn't show up in the body at all, but rather in the heart. It's subtle, emotional, and just as telling. This seventh sign is one that often passes unnoticed, not because it's hidden, but because we don't expect it. It's when someone begins reflecting on the past, speaking of regrets, giving away cherished items, or reaching out to people they haven't spoken to in years. It might not be random. It could be their way of saying they sense a chapter is coming to a close. Take Leonard, an 85-year-old from Nevada. One morning, out of the blue, he asked to call his brother, someone he hadn't spoken to in over 15 years. No one in the family even remembered why they had stopped talking. But Leonard remembered, and he simply said, "That silence doesn't feel right anymore." Around the same time, he began passing along his old tools, each with its own meaning. "This one's for Jason," he said, placing a worn hammer in his grandson's hand. "He always loved watching me use it." His daughter was concerned. She feared he was giving up. But the hospice nurse gently explained, this was part of something deeply human, emotional preparation. According to the National Institute on Aging, many people near the end feel a powerful urge to settle what's been left open. not just tasks but emotions, connections, and legacies. It's their way of making peace, of letting go gracefully. And it gives loved ones a chance to hold on to something more than memories. It gives them meaning. When we overlook this emotional turning point, we may lose the opportunity to connect in the most meaningful way, where every word matters and even silence becomes comforting. So here's what we can do. If your loved one mentions an old friend, a specific memory, or a long-held wish, don't brush it aside. Help them write that letter. Make that phone call. Let them tell the story, even if it's one you've heard many times before. And if they offer to pass something on, a keepsake, a book, a small tool, let them. That item may seem insignificant to you, but to them, it may carry years of love, purpose, or closure. Because in those final chapters, what someone needs most may not be another dose of medicine, but a moment of peace, a word that heals, a final gesture that says, "This mattered." Quote, "In the next moments, let's step back and reflect on everything we've explored, and how recognizing these quiet signs can gently transform how we offer care and compassion right to the end." Sometimes it's not a cry or a plea that tells you someone needs you. It's a look, a pause, a silent glance that says, "Please don't leave just yet." And if we aren't paying attention, we might miss it entirely. I think of Eleanor, a 78-year-old from Wisconsin. She never asked for much, rarely complained. But in the final weeks of her life, something subtle kept happening. Whenever her daughter stood to leave the room, Eleanor would look at her not with fear, not even sadness, but with a soft, hopeful expression. She didn't beg, she didn't cling. She simply wished someone would stay. It wasn't until later that her daughter realized those looks were her mother's way of saying, "I don't want to be alone right now." According to insights from Harvard Health and AARP, many older adults, especially during serious illness, begin speaking less. But that doesn't mean their emotional needs disappear. In fact, those needs may deepen. They might stop asking for company out loud, but their presence, their gestures, their eyes still speak volumes. And here's the truth. If we ignore those quiet requests, we risk leaving them emotionally alone, even while standing just a few feet away. It's not about filling silence with chatter or entertaining them. It's about being there, truly being there. So what can you do? You don't need the perfect phrase or some grand gesture. Sit beside them. Hold their hand. Read from an old letter. Play a familiar song. Even 5 minutes of quiet, attentive presence can make a person feel seen, secure, and deeply loved. If someone you care about has grown more silent than usual, look into their eyes. They may not be asking aloud, but they may be hoping you'll stay. Because in the end, it's rarely the big moments we remember. It's the small ones, the gentle touch, the shared quiet, the soft glance that says without words, "I'm still here, and I still need you." As we wrap up, let's hold close everything we've discovered. These signs aren't about fear, they are about love at its most human and tender. Quiet signals that, if noticed, can guide us toward deeper compassion. Thank you for spending these moments with me. I hope today's message reminded you that even the smallest signs can carry powerful meaning, and that with a little attention and love, we can offer peace, dignity, and connection in life's most sacred moments. If something you heard today stirred something in your heart, I'd truly love to know. Please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments, or simply type the word HOPE to remind yourself and others that none of us are ever walking this journey alone. And if you found this message helpful, don't forget to subscribe, tap the notification bell, and share it with someone who might need a little comfort today, whether it's a friend, a neighbor, or a family member going through something similar. Until we meet again, may your days be gentle, your moments filled with meaning, and may you always feel held by love, even in the quiet.